When you are running by yourself out in the open, out in the real world, there is a fight or flight trigger that happens in your head. It doesn't happen with everybody, but it happens with new people who don't know what's on the other side. The feeling of endorphins, the feeling of like relaxation.
I remember the day where all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is what everybody's been talking about. I just love that feeling of just there's nothing else. There's no one I'm competing against except for me yesterday. And just that feeling of like, oh my God, I feel so alive, at peace and alive.
And so connected. And where else do you get that in your life?
Hey guys, welcome to episode number 154 of the Gay Mom Girlfriend podcast. Today is something a little bit different. Today, I got to sit down with Beth Baker. This woman is amazing. She knows how bad running sucks until it doesn't. And as she's overcome her own fear of running, she has now helped over 2,500 other non-runners. She also has her own podcast, Why We Run. So you might be thinking, Sarah Walton, I come to you for business advice and tips and tricks on marketing and sales. Why are we talking about running? Because you, beautiful person, are probably an entrepreneur. Yes. Yes or yes. Yes. And here's the deal. If you do not have your health, who the heck's running your business? Yeah, running is really important, right? There's so much of our lives where we are sitting, staring at boxes, staring at lights, staring at cameras and video screens. And it's really important that we have this time to be out in nature, to breathe air all the way in, to fill our lungs completely with oxygen, and to feel all of the physical sensations that come with it. I really believe anyone can run. There's one of my favorite books, Born to Run, is going to be linked underneath this video. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes effort, but the rewards are huge. And to be honest, it parallels the journey of business, in my humble opinion. In order to learn how to run for distance, in order to learn how to run to be strong, in order to condition the body and the mind to do what you want it to do, is very similar to what one has to do to run a successful business. So even if you used to run like I did, or you've never run before, or you're still running a little bit, I think you'll really enjoy today's conversation. So I hope today's episode inspires you to take really good care of those muscles, joints, and that beautiful body that you have been gifted that allows you to do your work. So without further ado, pop in those earphones. Oh, because I think we swear. And let's get to it. Beth, welcome to the Game On Girlfriend podcast.
Sarah, what's going on?
I don't even know. So much is going on. Don't you feel that way? All the days, every day. So Beth, before we get into this idea that you are never too old to start running, how did you decide to get into this? How did you decide to be the person who comes on podcasts and say, hey, by the way, you're never too old to start running?
I started my business, Running Evolution, about 16 years ago, and I had found that women who are in like empty nesters were like little powerhouses of like energy and brilliance, and they were so strong and like fast and they never run before. And and we have people in like we have somebody in their 70s, but mostly around their 60s and 50s who've just started running.
I know you have this really cool angle about media and the patriarchy. How I do these interviews without an F the patriarchy's t-shirt on all the time, I'm not sure, but that's how I kind of feel about it lately. So what is it that the patriarchy and media do to make us think only young people run?
Well, a lot of it is the diet culture as well. Like you should be running because you should be losing weight.
Always.
And that is it's just so untrue. It's sold to us as this, to buy shoes and buy tiny, tiny little clothes, and from male-dominated, companies. I'm not sure how old you are, but growing up, we always got the Runner's World magazines when I first started, when I did figure out like, oh, I really like this. And it would be these small, tiny white people on the cover of the magazines and inside the magazines. And I never, ever, ever like related to that. I'm like, I'm not that fast. I don't look like that. I have this big butt and these big boobs and these really earthy size thighs that are really strong, but boy, I do not look like that at all. So I never thought of myself as a runner for years. And even though like after running marathons. And it just occurred to me, like, wow, there's just no representation for, I mean, of course, in that I'm a white girl too. So like, I can't imagine for people of color, like going, where,
High.
where do
Yeah.
I fit in this as
Yeah.
well too? So,
It's so important for people to hear. All of us are becoming aware that there has been such a level of perception that has just been pounded on us for so long.
I mean,
And
like
it's
so long.
wow. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, I've basically been saying to everybody, any institution that's older than 50 years was built by and for white men.
Yeah.
And we have
Old
to be
white men
very
too.
aware of that. Yeah. I
Yes.
mean, we really have to understand that when we're walking around, we're looking at the great resignation, we're looking at the quiet quitting, all the stuff that's happening is
Mhm.
because that doesn't work for everyone, nor
No.
should it. But it has been accepted and pounded as the norm for so long that we kind of grew numb to it. It's like, oh, I guess that's what's supposed to happen, even though I'm miserable and this doesn't work. And I love what you just said. Like all of our friends of color who were like, hi, I love to run.
Right.
It's like, what is the problem here? And
And then
just to
feeling
have that be
safe as
represented.
well. And
Mhm.
I mean, that's another whole thing is like, I mean, women feeling safe is a whole mhm, thing. And
Yes.
but
Yes.
as people of color feeling safe out running too. So I think
That's right.
as people being, it's what we need to do and being having their back.
It's just correct. I
It's
don't know how else. I mean, it
it's,
just is. It's like,
it's
this is correct. These are people. We're all
tur-
people. We're women who would like to run. We're people of color who'd like to run. Thank you. That's
turns out
correct.
it's
Like,
correct. Yeah.
yeah, as more women do start to run, especially older women, as we start to run, what advice do you have around that? Do you have ideas for us around that?
Tell your male counterparts, tell your male partners, tell your male friends, tell all the male runners in your groups, be strong, stand up and go, this is fucking bullshit. I don't feel safe. Men don't know this. It's shocking. Men don't know this because we've been not talking to ourselves and not feeling safe. And that feeling is so mutual to each other that you know it, I know it, we feel it. Men have no idea. No idea. So being the one in the groups, and I hate to say the squeaky wheel, but like this is bullshit and we should not feel uncomfortable and you should see your other male counterparts and making sure that you check them.
No, that's you're reminding me too of how we all felt when we realized black men weren't safe running either. And I think this is that's it's like we got to stop being shocked and we got to start doing. So that's actually really great. And we are going to need the conversation to go beyond us. Running is kind of like we have this instinctual response to it. And that's one of the reasons we don't like seek it out when we're first starting. I
Yes,
want to
okay.
know about this. I'm very curious about this. What is our instinctual response to running?
When you are running by yourself out in the open, out in the real world, not like on a treadmill, there is a fight or flight trigger that happens in your head,
Just
and
because you're running.
just because you're running,
Oh, that's
you are
fascinating.
either
Okay.
feeling chased or you're chasing. And as women, we are feeling chased. And I've heard people, they feel like they're gonna die, that they're gonna get left behind, that they're gonna get something's gonna go wrong. They feel very vulnerable. They feel like they're on stage. All of these very weird feelings, like it's just running. There are tools to kind of help that, but it's real. And it doesn't happen with everybody, but it happens with new people who don't know what's on the other side, what the feeling of endorphins, the feeling of like relaxation. So if they don't know what
Mhm.
that other side is,
So it's
it's
kind of
all
like
bells
being
and
able to push through that, like to push through that initial fear response to get to the gooey goodness that's on the other
yeah, yeah,
side.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
all like there actually was like a New York, I think it was New York Times, and this was years ago, where they strapped on brain scans for new runners, people who
Oh,
never run
wow.
before, and people who had run before, even if it was 30 years ago. And the brain scans for the people who never run before, it was all red, danger, danger, danger. And the people who had run before, but even though it was like 20 years, it was all green, endorphins, happy feeling.
I'm
Because
shocked. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool."
isn't that
I'm
awesome?
really dumbfounded by that. That's amazing. So wait a second. How long does it take for
It
us
took
to move through that?
Yeah, so that's what I feel like that's my job. That's what I do in my life is just, take people through that tunnel, is, and
Mm,
handhold people through that tunnel, and so what I try to do is just, like, form the habit of getting out there and doing something hard and knowing and giving people permission to fail and, that it's not gonna go right all the time, and
mhm.
it's not all or nothing, and just being easy and kind to yourself.
I'm trying to remember the first several times I ran, and I can't even remember, but I do remember the day when it wasn't hard anymore. I
Right?
remember that. I
Is it
remember the day where all of a sudden I was like, "Oh." this is what everybody's been
Yeah.
talking about. I just loved that feeling of just there's nothing else. There's no one I'm competing against except for me yesterday. And just that feeling of like, oh my God, I feel so alive, at peace and alive.
And so connected, and where else do you get
Mm,
that in your life? But I tell people to really look at what is turning them on and
mm.
having them connected to it. So people usually feel really, really good when they're done,
Yes.
even if it's hard when it's and so when they're done, I'm like, focus on that, focus on that, focus on
Mhm.
the good sleep and all that stuff.
So I know too your prevailing theory, Beth, is that you're never too old to start running. Right? Like
Right.
this is something you really love to teach people. And I think there are 5 reasons you say that we know we're never too old to start running. Can you share those with us?
People again, this is what people have always like the society telling people that, you know, that young white people are running. So just knowing that that is the patriarchy. So that's, A. And that your body is meant to move, and the older you get, the more it's important for you to do it. Having social and community connection, real conversations really come out of that. I don't know if I
Mm.
know you like to run by yourself, but if you run with other people, you don't see each other, like go head to
'Cause you're
head.
not looking and, like, making eye
Yeah.
contact? Okay.
The
Yeah.
really good stuff comes out, like, you can't I just tell people, "You can't bullshit after 5 miles," like, you can't so there's that, and the emotion is lotion, it's the stiffness that comes with age and the achiness, it's just the more you move it, the better it feels, and it just,
Mm.
but you just have to kind of, be mindful of, going slow, and that we really kind of instigate that, like, slowness is building bigger muscles and having that as a tool too, because it's not going fast isn't the goal, it's just moving. That you have to really work and fail and
Mhm.
problem solve to get to, where you wanna go, and, for people to think that running is so natural and so easy, for most people it is not, or I wouldn't have a job.
The propensity towards being disappointed or feeling like they're not strong enough or not good enough, or maybe I'm just not born for this, that sort of feeling people can have when they take on challenging things. It's so great that you're there to tell the truth about that, because I think once we tell the truth, then we've got something to do. There's something we can move through.
A lot of people compare themselves to people that they see on social media, even like people who aren't professional athletes, or they compare themselves to somebody who they thought they were 20 years ago. And
Mhm.
I mean, I have runners who, mature runners in my group, and they're like, well, I used to do this and I used to do that. I'm like, well, that was great. But you can't, you're just different. You're better. You're stronger. You're more, I mean, you got so much more knowledge now, and let's not put that into a physical aspect of your body. That's not gonna let's just this is where you're at right now, let's go forward.
I'm sure we have people listening right now who are like, okay, maybe I want to try this. Maybe I would. What would they do? Like, what do you think is a good, like, first step, first goal for somebody who's listening to us right now? And they're kind of like, all right, I'll buy into this. I'll give this a
Yeah,
try.
knowing it's gonna take a few months possibly to get started to run, which is very good to know. It's not gonna be, like, instantaneous. Giving yourself permission to go slow, giving yourself permission to walk.
Mm.
And taking little bite-sized little chunks out of it. I have a Couch to 5K program that I'm offering to people for free, of course,
Oh, that's awesome.
and it just giving people, like, just what instead of, like, guessing what to do, just like, "This is what I'm gonna do this day, and this is what I'm gonna do this day,"
Awesome.
and try to get it done in the morning, try to get it done before anybody wakes up, and just having, like, a goal of a 5K. I tell people to do,
Mm.
like, a 5K a month just so that they're kind of invested into it, and, so that they have something to look forward to, like, just a little goal, just a little small goals to sprinkle it
Yeah.
out there in the next few months. Having accountability partners too, having, like, run buddies are great.
Okay.
That's
Well, that
yeah.
is so cool. So it is the couch to 5K is the plan that you have for
Yes.
our listeners. That
Yep.
is amazing. That's so great. Yeah. So you guys watching on YouTube, that will be under the video. For those of you listening, it's in the show notes. Go grab it. I love plans like that. I've watched several people really progress in running by having a program like that to go to that just sort of
Yeah.
says, here's Tuesday. And you go, okay. And you just sort of work through that a little bit.
Yeah.
That's so helpful, Beth. That's
Checking
really
them
cool.
off one by one. I wish
Yeah.
I had that. I was just kind of flailing around, and I lived in San Francisco. We had I lived in the park in Golden Gate Park, talking about, Central Park, and, I lived right on Golden Gate Park, and I had this like little mile loop. And I just remember doing like one loop. I'm like, oh my God, I think I could do two loops. And so it was like 2 miles. Like, oh my gosh. It was like mind blowing. And I had my music, and I mean, everything was just so magical at that point. But it took a long, long time. And I was telling, like, I do this for a living, but it took me a whole year to do my first 5K. And I have a Couch to 5K club that we do it in 2 months. And so it's like, it's just, I have all of my failures I want to share with people, because it's just, like shoes and having a good bra and like things like that. It took me months to figure out.
Beth, I love what you just said about learn from all my mistakes. And it's like there's so much out there that you could do or say to support other people that
Right.
it never has to be painful like that.
It's just a toolbox of like, what is it, chafing? What is, people don't know that until it's too late. And, people need to know that hopefully from the beginning.
Well, listen, Beth, I'm so grateful you stopped by the podcast today. I really hope we've inspired some of the awesome entrepreneurs who listen to get out and move their bodies and run a little bit and take advantage of your Couch to 5K. I really appreciate your perspective and being so honest with us.
Thank you, Sarah. And I so much appreciate what you do, because man, us silly little entrepreneurs, I need a lot of help.
We all do. It's just like, right, you can't do it by yourself. Like, why would you make the mistakes? No bloody nipples around here, people.
No, ever.
Come on. Running or entrepreneurship.
Hashtag, right?
We don't do that here. Oh my gosh. I can see the cover image for that already.
The pain. The pain.
Coverage. Beth, thank you again so much. I hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it.